My ex-girlfriend, Tiffany Cole, was laughing. The sound mixed with the screech of tires as she and her new fling, trust fund baby Julian Sterling, slammed their Porsche 911 into me. They turned me, a senior developer pulling in 150 grand a year, into a vegetable lying in the ICU. In the endless darkness that followed, I swore that if hell existed, I would drag both of them down into the abyss with me. But when I opened my eyes again, what I saw in a mirror was the face I hated most in this world, Julian Sterling's face. And my own body? It was lying motionless on the hospital bed opposite me. Now, wearing my enemy's skin, spending my enemy's money, and facing the ex-girlfriend who was throwing herself at me. Where should my revenge begin? Caleb, you make what, 10 grand a month? Even if you didn't eat or drink, how long would it take you to afford this bag? Tiffany's voice was as sharp and cold as the new crushed diamonds on her manicured nails. I had just finished pulling an all-nighter. My brain was still dense with code, my body on the verge of collapse. Looking at the woman I had loved for 3 years, she felt completely alien. Tiff, didn't we agree? I grind now, and when my project launches and I get the equity bonus. Wait, how long am I supposed to wait for you? She interrupted me impatiently. When Julian pursued me, he didn't even blink before buying me this $15,000 platinum Birkin. And you? You hesitate for half a day just to clear my Amazon cart. The Julian she was talking about was the son of our company's biggest investor, a classic Nepo baby. I couldn't wrap my head around it. How did 3 years of a relationship lose to a handbag? So, that's your reason for breaking up? My heart felt like it was being squeezed by an icy hand, the pain suffocating. Tiffany crossed her arms, looking down at me with pure disdain. It's not a reason, Caleb. It's reality. You're a good guy, but you can't give me the life I want. With that, she turned and walked toward a flashy red Porsche 911 parked nearby. The door opened, and Julian leaned out from the driver's seat, whistling at me contemptuously. Hey, code monkey, don't take it too hard. It's not that you're inadequate. It's just your bank account, that is. He pulled Tiffany into his arms and, right in front of my face, kissed her aggressively. Tiffany didn't resist. Instead, she giggled, her body shaking with delight. In that moment, I felt all the blood in my body rush to my head. I charged forward like a madman, wanting nothing more than to smash that disgusting grin into pulp. Julian, you son of... I never finished the sentence. Julian's smile twisted into something hideous. He slammed on the gas. The Porsche roared like a steel beast and lunged straight at me. I heard a short scream from Tiffany, and then my body was thrown into the air by a massive force. The world spun. In the last second of consciousness, what I saw was Tiffany leaning out the window. On that beautiful face, there was no panic, only a trace of relief. So, she had wanted me dead all along. Endless darkness. I was like a lonely ghost, floating in a cold void. Anger, unwillingness, resentment. Emotions wove into a giant net, wrapping tightly around me. Did I die? No, I wasn't ready. Tiffany, Julian, I wanted revenge. I wanted them to pay in blood. This monstrous hatred seemed to turn into strength, violently yanking my consciousness out of the abyss. I struggled to open my eyes. The first thing I saw was a pristine white hospital ceiling, the smell of antiseptic lingering in my nose. I was alive. I moved my fingers, the sensation was clear. I propped myself up and found that aside from a few scratches, I was unharmed. How was that possible? I had clearly been hit head-on by a Porsche. I looked around. This was a top-tier VIP suite, decorated like a 5-star hotel. This was definitely not something a regular programmer could afford. I struggled out of bed and stumbled into the bathroom. When I saw the person in the mirror, I froze as if struck by lightning. That face, handsome, arrogant, with a natural hint of a cynical smirk at the corner of the mouth. It was Julian. The person in the mirror was my most hated enemy, Julian Sterling. Ah! I let out a roar that didn't sound human and smashed my fist into the mirror. The glass instantly spiderwebbed, reflecting countless terrified and distorted faces. This isn't me. Who the hell am I? Just then, the ward door was pushed open. A well-dressed, middle-aged man walked in, followed by 2 bodyguards in black suits. Seeing the blood on my hand, he frowned, his tone commanding. What is this tantrum? The doctor said you only have a mild concussion. What? Trying to knock yourself stupid? I recognized him. Julian's father, the chairman of Sterling Corp., Marcus Sterling. He was talking to me? Julian. Marcus's voice held a trace of exhaustion. I know you didn't like that programmer, but there has to be a limit. If I hadn't suppressed this for you, you'd be facing felony assault charges right now. That guy, Caleb Vance, is currently lying in the ICU. He's a vegetable. This matter ends here. Never mention it again. A vegetable. My own body had become a vegetable, and I had come back to life in his body. This realization exploded in my mind like a thunderclap. God, are you playing some massive joke on me? You let me survive, but only by wearing the identity of the person I hate most. Seeing my dazed expression, Marcus assumed I was scared, and his tone softened slightly. All right, consider this a lesson learned. Rest at home for a few days. Next Monday, come to the office. He tossed a black bank card onto the table. There's $5 million in there. Your allowance. Try not to blow it all at once. $5 million. Allowance. I looked at the card, then back at Julian's face in the shattered mirror. A crazy, twisted idea suddenly rose in my heart. Despair? No. This might not be a punishment. This was the ultimate tool for revenge granted by fate. Julian, Tiffany, your game has only just begun. I, Caleb Vance, a programmer making $75 an hour, had become Julian Sterling, a trust fund kid with a $5 million allowance. The feeling was absurd and electric. After Marcus left, I stayed in the ward alone for a long time, forcing myself to accept this bizarre reality. I touched this face that belonged to Julian, feeling the raw power of this youthful body. Not only was I alive, but I also possessed wealth and status I had never dared to dream of. And Julian? The real Julian, where did his soul go? Dead? Or trapped in my vegetative body? The thought brought a surge of sick pleasure to my heart. Let him taste what it's like to be trapped in a powerless shell, watching helplessly as everything is taken from him. The next day, I processed my discharge. Standing at the hospital entrance, the sunlight was blinding. A black Bentley Mulsanne glided silently up to me. The driver opened the door respectfully. Young Mr. Sterling, the chairman ordered me to pick you up. Mimicking the slouching, careless posture from Julian's memories, I slid into the back seat. The car drove smoothly to Julian's private estate. It was a mansion perched in the Hollywood Hills, complete with an infinity pool and private gardens. Luxury that made my jaw drop as someone who uses stress over a mortgage on a condo. I opened the walk-in closet. It was filled with the latest season's top luxury brands. I opened the garage. A dozen limited edition supercars sat silently like a row of beasts ready to pounce. I grabbed the key to a Lamborghini at random and blasted it down the canyon roads. The roar of the engine felt like a scream of goodbye to my impoverished past life. Exhilarating. It was a rush I'd never felt before. But after the brief indulgence came a deeper emptiness and a more intense hatred. None of this belonged to me. I had traded half my life for it. I returned to the villa and began to carefully comb through Julian's memories. His mind was chaotic, filled with alcohol, parties, and women. But regarding the business of Sterling Corp., it was a blank slate. This idiot knew nothing but consumption. Marcus sending him to work was going to be a massive challenge. Just as I was getting a headache, my phone rang. The caller ID read, Babe Tiff. My heart contracted violently as I pressed answer. Jules, you got out of the hospital and didn't even tell me? I was so worried about you. Tiffany's sugary voice came through the receiver, making my stomach turn. I fought back the nausea, imitating Julian's lazy drawl. Worried about me? I'm Fina. What, miss me? You're so annoying. Of course I miss you. Where are you? Should I come over? Come over? 1,000 revenge scenarios flashed through my mind. But reason told me not to rush. Right now, I was just an imposter with an identity. Before I fully controlled Julian's life, I had to be careful. No need, I said coldly. My dad is making me go into the office. I need to prep for a few days. Tiffany paused on the other end. Work? Chairman Sterling is letting you into the company? That's amazing. Jules, I knew you were the best. Her voice was full of surprise and sycophancy. Ha, this woman really only saw power and money. By the way, Jules, she pivoted, I saw this Dior Spring limited edition bag the other day, but it's sold out everywhere. Here it comes. Her old routine. I sneered internally, but spoke generously. Is that all? I'll text you the card number. Go buy it. No. She refused immediately. I want you to come with me. Please, Jules. She was whining. The woman who used to boss me around was now using her sweetest voice to beg for my company. I knew her goal. She was scared. Scared that this Julian was losing interest in her. I was silent for a moment, then gave her an answer that would make her blood run cold. We'll see. I'm not really in the mood for shopping right now. I'm more interested in going to see how that Caleb guy is doing. Silence. Tiffany's breathing stopped instantly on the other end. See him for what? Her voice carried a tremor she couldn't hide. He's a vegetable. What's there to see? Exactly because he's a vegetable. That's what makes it fun. I smiled coldly at the phone. I want to see what he looks like lying in bed like a dead dog. It'll be great stress relief. Every word I spoke was a knife, stabbing into Tiffany's heart and my own. Jules, don't be like that. I am scared. Scared of what? I chuckled softly. Don't tell me you still have feelings for him? Of course not. She shrieked the denial. I just think it's bad luck. I don't care. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., First General Hospital. You better be there. I didn't give her a chance to refuse and hung up directly. Listening to the disconnect tone, I could imagine the panic on Tiffany's face. Good. That was the effect I wanted. I wanted her living in fear, constantly uneasy about the sins she had committed. The next day, I deliberately chose the flashiest outfit in Julian's closet and drove the red Porsche that had hit me to the hospital. Tiffany was already waiting at the entrance. She had applied exquisite makeup, but it couldn't hide the haggardness and dark circles under her eyes. When she saw me in that car, her face went sheet white. Jules, why did you drive this car? Why shouldn't I? I raised an eyebrow at her. This is our hero. If not for this car, how would that pauper be sleeping so soundly? Tiffany's lips trembled. She couldn't say a word. Satisfied with her reaction, I wrapped my arm around her waist and marched toward the ICU. Let's go, babe. Time to visit your ex. Outside the ICU ward, through the thick glass, I saw myself. He lay quietly on the bed, covered in tubes, machines emitting a monotonous beep-beep. That face, once full of vitality, was now bloodless and gaunt. My heart felt like it was being crushed by an invisible hand. That was my body, the body I ruined my neck for working overtime, the body I starved to save money. Now, it was a soulless shell trapped in there. A wave of overwhelming grief and rage surged in my chest. Look at him! I turned, leaning close to Tiffany's ear, whispering cruelly, so only we could hear. Doesn't he look like a stray dog abandoned by its owner? Tiffany was shaking like a leaf. Stop talking. Please, let's go. She begged with a sob. Go. I grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at the body. We're just getting started. Not only am I going to watch, I'm going to make sure he never wakes up. I let go of her and turned to the assistant behind me. Go get Caleb Vance's attending physician. Tell him Sterling Group is willing to cover all his medical expenses. But there is one condition. I want the best drugs used to maintain his vitals. But I paused, enunciating every word. He must never show any signs of waking up. I wanted him alive. I wanted the name Caleb Vance to be a sword of Damocles hanging over Tiffany's head forever. Let her live the rest of her life in a nightmare of having murdered her ex-boyfriend. Julian, you're crazy. Tiffany screamed, losing her composure. This is murder. Murder. I looked at her playfully. Babe, did you forget? The color drained from her face completely. She finally understood my purpose in bringing her here. I wasn't just humiliating Caleb. I was warning her, binding her. We were grasshoppers tied to the same string. No one was jumping off easily. Leaving the hospital, Tiffany looked like she had lost her soul, silent as a grave. I stuffed her into the car and drove straight to the city's most luxurious mall. Get out, I ordered. She looked at me blankly. I unbuckled my seatbelt, pinched her cheek, my tone instantly turning gentle. Didn't you want that Dior limited edition? Come on, Daddy will buy it for you. I dragged her into the gilded boutique. The sales associates swarmed us like flies to honey. Mr. Sterling, you're here. Wrap up every new arrival in the store, bags, clothes, shoes, anything in this lady's size. I pulled out the black card Marcus gave me and tossed it on the counter. Pin is 6/8. Swipe it. The whole store erupted. The staff scrambled to pack things, looking at me like I was a god. And Tiffany was stunned. She looked at the mountain of luxury goods, then at me. In her eyes, the fear slowly faded, replaced by greed and obsession. Jules, she murmured. I smirked, pulling her into my arms and blowing into her ear. Like it, babe? This is just an appetizer. As long as you're a good girl. In the future, the whole mall is yours. Candy and a whip. I played the game perfectly. First, I used Caleb's misery to knock her into hell, making her fear me, making her submit. Then I used money to lift her to heaven, making her addicted, making her dependent. I was going to turn her into my accessory, a pet that only knew how to wag its tail for me. That night, in the villa in the hills, Tiffany completely dropped all reserve and pretense. She wound around me like a viper, doing everything she could to please me. She thought this would secure her cash cow. She didn't know that as she touched me, the nausea and murderous intent in my heart were almost bursting out of my chest. I watched her beneath me, crying out Jules in passion. My mind was filled with my own pale face lying in the ICU. Caleb, do you see this? The woman you loved for 3 years is right here. For money, she begs for affection from the killer who ran you down. Your love was a joke from start to finish. I closed my eyes, channeling all my hatred and humiliation into the primal act. In this moment, I wasn't Caleb, nor was I Julian. I was a vengeful demon crawled back from hell. And this torture, for her and for myself, had only just begun. While torturing Tiffany, I didn't forget the main mission. On Monday, I arrived punctually at the Sterling Corp headquarters. Sterling Corp was the city's real estate titan, with a market cap in the billions. Caleb Vance, a programmer who once couldn't even get an interview here, was now walking into the center of power as the Crown Prince. Marcus had placed me in the project development department as the deputy director. A Nepo baby with zero experience parachuting into this position. You can imagine the resentment. As soon as I walked into the office, I felt countless gazes, some contemptuous, some jealous, some waiting for the show. The department director was a middle-aged man named Gary Baines, sporting a beer belly and hair, slicked back with too much oil. Seeing me, he plastered a smile on his face, though his eyes hid a sliver of disdain. "Young mister. Sterling, welcome, welcome. We're colleagues now. Please, give us your guidance." He said guidance, but his posture was condescending. The other colleagues just nodded symbolically and went back to work, completely disregarding the new deputy director. I knew this was their way of hazing me. If I couldn't stand my ground here, forget revenge, I wouldn't even keep Julian's identity secure. I didn't explode. I just mimicked Julian's cynicism and smiled. Guidance? Hard to say. I'm just here to experience life on my dad's orders. You guys do what you do. Ignore me. I walked straight into the spacious deputy director's office and shut the door. Outside, I heard stifled snickers. Thought he was somebody. Turns out he's just an empty suit. Chill. Keep it down, that's the prince. So what if he's the prince? The chairman dumped him in the busiest department. It's obvious he wants him to quit out of frustration. Through the door, I heard every word clearly. Quit. You people underestimate me. I opened my computer and started browsing the department's current projects. I was shocked. Although Sterling Corp was a traditional real estate company, they had been trying to pivot to tech and smart sectors recently. Their flagship project was a system called Sterling Smart Life Community. It aimed to manage security, property, and services via big data and AI. The concept was advanced, but when I looked at the technical specs, I almost laughed out loud. Riddled with holes. The architecture was archaic, the logic chaotic, and the data encryption was practically non-existent. Forget a senior dev like me. A college grad could hack this. They wanted to bid for the government's smart city contract with this garbage. Delusional. I immediately realized my chance had come. Julian was an idiot, but Caleb was not. In the realm of code and algorithms, I was the true king. In the afternoon, the department held a weekly meeting. Director Baines talked big about the grand blueprint of the Smart Life project, hyping up that trash system to the skies. The employees nodded along, a picture of peace and prosperity. When it was my turn to speak, everyone looked at me with amusement, waiting for the idiot prince to make a fool of himself. I cleared my throat and stood up. Director Baines, everyone. Listening to the presentation was inspiring. I offered a polite opener before pivoting sharply. However, regarding the technical solution, I have a few small disagreements. Baines's face darkened. Oh, does young mister Sterling have some brilliant insight? Brilliant might be a stretch. I walked to the projection screen, picked up a marker, and drew big red X's directly over their proud system architecture diagram. Here, redundant database structure. Query efficiency will drop by at least 30%. Here, the API interface design is flawed. There's a serious security backdoor. And here, the core AI recommendation algorithm is logically broken. I guarantee that once this goes live, it will only recommend things the homeowners hate most. My words were a bomb detonating in the conference room. Everyone stared at me, dumbfounded. Baines's face had turned the color of raw liver. You're talking nonsense. This plan was designed by the company's top experts. What does a layman like you know? He shouted, flustered and angry. Whether I'm a layman or not, we'll find out if we test it. I smiled slightly, pulled out my laptop, and connected it to the projector. Watch this. This is an alternative solution I wrote in 3 hours last night. I opened a file. A brand new, clean, rigorously logical system architecture appeared on the screen. Immediately following was a fluid demonstration of code execution. As I typed, I explained, I rewrote the underlying architecture using cutting-edge microservices, boosting system performance by at least 3 times. I redesigned the encryption algorithm. Even top-tier hackers wouldn't crack this in 3 days. Most importantly, I optimized the AI model. It uses deep learning based on user behavior to self-evolve. It truly knows you better than you know yourself. The conference room was dead silent. There was only the clack-clack of my keyboard and the scrolling code on the screen, code that looked like divine scripture to them. Their eyes shifted from contempt to shock and finally to fear, like they were looking at a monster. An hour later, I finished the demo. I closed the laptop and scanned the room, my gaze landing on a now ashen-faced Gary Baines. Director Baines, now do you still think I'm talking nonsense? Baines gaped, unable to utter a syllable. The technicians behind him looked like they'd seen a ghost. Their top-tier solution was a child's toy compared to my code. The meeting became my personal tech showcase. I, using the magic of a programmer, achieved God status in a department full of pretenders in one battle. After the meeting, Marcus Sterling called me to his office personally. The look he gave me was full of scrutiny and surprise. Julian, who taught you that stuff? I had prepared my excuse long ago. I spread my hands, looking innocent. No one. I met some IT guys in the States a while back, chatted with them, thought it was cool, so I messed around with it myself. The reason was bullshit, but it was the only way to explain my rebirth. Marcus stared at me for a long time, trying to find a crack. Finally, he said nothing, just clapped a heavy hand on my shoulder. Good, very good, worthy of being Marcus Sterling's son. The approval and pride in his eyes were things Julian had never received. My heart was a mix of emotions. I used Caleb's brain to win the father's approval for Julian. Wasn't that ironic? News spread fast. Everyone knew the useless crown prince had suddenly awakened and become a hidden IT genius. The attitude of my colleagues changed completely. They no longer treated me as a decoration. They asked for my opinion, and even Baines followed me around like a lapdog, sycophantic to the extreme. I enjoyed being the center of attention. Power really was a drug. It made everyone who looked down on you kneel before you. I overhauled the Smart Life project, scrapped the trash, and rebuilt the team. I ran this project like my own startup. By day, I ruled the office. By night, at the villa, I became Caleb the coder again. I poured everything into this, not just to secure my place in the Sterling family, but to prove that Caleb Vance was worth more than a monthly paycheck. Everything I had lost, dignity, career, future, I would take back piece by piece, using Julian's identity. The project went smoothly. Tiffany had become exceptionally well-behaved recently. She stopped asking for luxury goods and instead learned to cook, try to play the role of a virtuous wife. She thought this would lock me down. Laughable. The more she did, the more pathetic she looked. One night, I was coding in the study when Tiffany walked in with a bowl of bird's nest soup. She was wearing sheer silk lingerie, smelling of expensive perfume. Jules, still busy? Take a break, have some soup. She put the bowl down and hugged me from behind. Jules, you worked so hard lately, it hurts my heart. Her hands began to wander. Revolted, I grabbed her wrist impassively. Spit out. What do you want? Tiffany froze, then smiled ingratiatingly. Nothing, I just missed you. By the way, my birthday is coming up. You will spend it with me, right? Birthday? Fragments of memory flashed. Last year for her birthday, I, Caleb, had starved for 2 months to buy her a $500 necklace. She was moved to tears then, saying it was the best gift ever. Now I knew it was all acting. What do you want? I asked flatly. Tiffany's eyes lit up. She leaned close, whispering, I don't want anything. I just want you. But if you really want to get me something, I want a surprise. A surprise that makes everyone envy me. I understood. She didn't want a gift. She wanted vanity. She wanted to use her birthday party to declare to the world that she, Tiffany Cole, was the only woman beside Crown Prince Julian Sterling. Fine, inojid. I'll give you a surprise you will never forget. Tiffany left satisfied. I watched her leave, a cruel arc forming on my lips. You want a surprise? I'll double it. I guarantee it'll be unforgettable. For the party, Tiffany booked the Sky Ballroom at the city's top hotel. She invited friends, classmates, practically throwing a gala. She wore a white haute couture gown, looking like a proud princess, holding my arm as she accepted blessings and envy. Julian was handsome and rich. Tiffany was beautiful. To others, we were a match made in heaven. Halfway through, it was time for gifts. Tiffany looked at me expectantly. All eyes were on me, curious about what the Sterling Prince would give. I smiled and picked up the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Today is Tiffany's birthday, and I prepared a special gift for her. I snapped my fingers. The giant screen in the ballroom lit up. A video began to play. It started with sweet moments of Tiffany and Caleb. Shopping movies, eating instant noodles in a rental apartment. Warm, simple memories. Tiffany's face changed instantly. Jules, what are you playing this for? She scrambled to grab the mic. I shove her away. Don't rush, babe. The best part is coming up. The scene cut. It was security footage from the ICU. In the video, Caleb lay like a corpse. Tiffany stood outside the glass, holding my arm, fear and disgust on her face. Then my cold voice played over the speakers. Look at him. Doesn't he look like a stray dog abandoned by its owner? The dialogue was crystal clear. The entire hall fell into a deathly silence. Everyone looked at the pale Tiffany with shock and contempt. They finally understood who had put this ex-boyfriend in a vegetative state. Jules, no. Please. Tiffany collapsed, kneeling on the floor, hugging my leg, begging. I looked down at her, my eyes devoid of warmth. Tiffany, this is my birthday gift to you. I'm using this video to tell everyone what a beautiful, venomous woman you are. Do you like it? Tiffany's birthday became the most humiliating nightmare of her life. The ballroom exploded with whispers. The besties who used to envy her now looked at her with scorn. My God, she's so evil. Doing that to her ex. Truly, you never know a person's heart. And I thought she was innocent, poisonous, selling her soul to climb the social ladder. The words cut Tiffany's ego to ribbons. She lay on the floor, covering her face, wailing in despair. I felt no pity, only the thrill of revenge. I squatted down and whispered, you know what? When I visited the hospital, I prepaid Caleb's medical bills for another year. So, the guilt of killing your ex? You're going to carry that for a long time. Enjoy it, princess. I stood up, straightened my suit, and walked out of the ballroom without looking back. I had won. I not only ruined Tiffany's reputation, but successfully framed myself as a victim deceived by a wicked woman, rather than the mastermind of the crash. From that day on, Tiffany vanished. Rumor had it she fled back to her hometown in shame. Her life was thoroughly destroyed. With Tiffany handled, I focused on work. The Smart Life project produced a perfect demo under my leadership. At the City Hall bidding, our tech crushed the competition. We won a multi-billion-dollar contract. The news shook Sterling Corp. I rocketed to fame, becoming the company's hottest asset. Marcus was overjoyed, overruling the board to promote me to vice president, handing the entire tech division to me. I had finally reached the center of power. I had the capital to fight the entire Sterling family. The final step of revenge was near. I used my authority to secretly investigate the company's financials. Soon, I found a massive secret. Sterling Corp was a hollow shell. To keep it running, Marcus had been embezzling project funds to fill a bottomless pit of overseas bad investments. The books were cooked perfectly, but to a top-tier coder, data leaves trails. I easily found the evidence of fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering. Evidence enough to damn Marcus and the company to hell. Looking at the crimes on my screen, my smile grew colder. Marcus, Julian, your final gift is ready. An invitation from hell. At Sterling Corp's 50th anniversary gala, the elite gathered. It was unprecedented. Marcus stood on stage, spirited, giving a speech about the next 100 years. I, the newly minted VP, stood beside him, accepting congratulations. No one knew a storm was about to hit. At the climax, the promotional video began. Suddenly, the screen flickered. Instead of the glossy promo, the screen displayed shocking internal financial reports, records of Marcus embezzling funds and laundering money. I had exposed every crime in the most direct way possible. The crowd went into an uproar. Flashbulbs went off like strobe lights. Marcus's face went white. He pointed at me, lips trembling, unable to speak. It's you. That's right, it's me. I took the microphone, speaking calmly to the shocked faces below. I am not Julian Sterling. I reached up and peeled away the hyper-realistic prosthetic disguise I'd applied for this very moment. A layer of synthetic skin that maintained the illusion of Julian Sterling, to reveal the face underneath. The face I had secretly commissioned a studio to reconstruct as a mask for this exact second. The face of Caleb Vance. My name is Caleb Vance, the programmer you father and son turned into a vegetable, the one lying in hospital right now. This shocking twist sent everyone into a frenzy. The guests, the shareholders watching TV, the whole world exploded at my words. Marcus looked at this face, the face of his victim, and backed away as if seeing a ghost collapsing onto the floor. Just then, the doors burst open. Police in uniform marched straight to the stage. Marcus Sterling, you're under arrest for embezzlement, money laundering, and tax fraud. Cold handcuffs clicked onto his wrists. His arrogant commercial empire collapsed in an instant. Standing in the ruins of the stage, I felt like a king judging the world. Watching the man who was once high and mighty being dragged away, I felt the rush of vengeance fulfilled. But it wasn't enough. My gaze drifted to a corner of the room. A woman in a business suit sat there, watching quietly. Julian's chief secretary, Elena Cross. The only person I couldn't read. Meeting my gaze, she stood up slowly and gave me a smile filled with deep meaning. That smile triggered alarm bells in my head. It wasn't over. After the gala, Elena asked to meet me on the rooftop terrace. The night wind was cold, sobering me up. You knew all along, didn't you? I looked at her. Since I woke up, Elena had been by my side. She was capable, solving many problems, the biggest reason I rose so fast. I thought she was just an employee. I was wrong. Elena smiled, the wind catching her hair, revealing eyes too sharp and cold for a secretary. Not only did I know you were Caleb, I know why you became Julian. My heart sank. That crash wasn't an accident. Elena's tone was calm, but she dropped a bomb. I tampered with it. I hacked Julian's car system and disabled the brakes for 5 seconds at the critical moment. Just enough to be fatal. Estava here, speechless. As for the body swap, she shrugged. Maybe it was that ancient Tibetan Z bead I hid in the car. I paid a fortune for it. Legend says it grants the most intense wish at the moment of death. Your wish was revenge. Julian's wish was to live. So you swapped. The explanation was absurd, fantastical, yet I had to believe it. Why? I asked with difficulty. Why did you do this? You have a grudge against the Sterlings? Edo. Elena's eyes filled with hate. 5 years ago, Marcus bankrupted my father's company with dirty tricks. My father jumped off a building. From that day, I swore to destroy this family. She looked at me intricately. I infiltrated Sterling Corp, waiting for a chance. Your appearance was an accident, but also the best opportunity. I knew Julian was useless. He couldn't beat Marcus. But you were different, Caleb. You had brains, skills, and monstrous hatred. I knew you could help me finish my revenge. So that was it. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. I thought I was the player, but I was just a piece on someone else's board. So you used me. Mutual utilization. Elena Korikid. I helped you take down the Sterlings. You helped me avenge my father. We're even. She pulled a file from her bag and handed it to me. This is the equity transfer for Sterling Group. I used your name to acquire the majority of floating shares. Now, you're the largest shareholder. This empire now belongs to Caleb Vance. I looked at the document, silent. What about you? I asked. Me? Elena smiled, a mix of relief and confusion. The debt is paid. Time to start my own life. She turned toward the edge of the roof. Caleb, she looked back. You have 2 choices now. 1, continue as President Sterling, sitting on billions, but living in Julian's shadow forever. 2, go back to the hospital and try to swap back with your vegetative body. But a warning, she tapped her head. The Z bead only works once. Whether you can switch back, no one knows. With a wave of her hand, she vanished around the corner, leaving me alone in the cold wind on the rooftop. I looked down at this body, Julian's young, healthy, powerful body. Then I thought of the weak, helpless body lying in the hospital. Go back. Return to being the penniless programmer Caleb Vance. Or be reborn here, as a new Caleb who controlled everything. I looked up at the city lights, thousands of homes glowing in the dark. For the first time, I felt lost about my own life. My revenge was over. But where should my path go from here? Story complete.